we're starting a new teaching called Dangerous Prayers. And the reason behind the title is because a lot of times, and there's nothing, you can pray to God about anything. I mean, you really can. But a lot of times we default to canned, safe, religious prayers. Like, God, be with me today, or God, would you do this for me today? Or thank you for this day, or bless everything, or watch over me. And there's nothing wrong with it. God, would you bless this Taco Bell to the nourishment of my body, or whatever. And the heart is not to critique prayers that's all you know how to pray. But in this teaching of the next few weeks, we're going to look at uncomfortable prayers. Prayers that I think really get the attention of God. Prayers that get us out of our comfort zone and into the will of God. Not just to cover God's benefits, but to transform us from the inside out. These are prayers that we see in the Bible, and they're prayers that could literally change the trajectory of our lives, that will really help us leave a spiritual legacy when it's our time to go home, to go up to heaven, to be with God. And we got to think about this stuff. What are we really doing? What are you really going to do with the life that God has given you? If you want to live a safe, comfortable life, you can. But I just don't want to. And I want our church to be a safe church as far as we want to be a place where people can come and feel welcomed, and they don't have it figured. None of us have it figured out, and we don't. A place where you can come and you don't have to clean yourself up before you come. We want to be a safe, welcoming church. We're also going to be a bold church that takes the Word of God seriously, and we really want to do some great things for God. A couple amens. I love it. I'll take a couple. So we want a church that we don't just know the Word, we carry it. We just don't know about the power of God. We carry the power of God. We know how to pray for somebody that needs a miracle. We know how to bring heaven to earth. We don't just contain knowledge about God. We display who God is, and we walk with God. And I want our church to be a dangerous church, not a safe church. We're willing to sacrifice and serve anyone. We love people well, better than most. And prayer is already a habit that's hard to maintain. I mean, maybe you're geared more towards prayer, and that's easy for you. Feel a little uncomfortable admitting this. It's not natural for me. It's more natural for me to work for God than to sit with God and pray. But prayer is important, and we have to be very intentional, and it's why we're starting out with not just fasting, but with prayer. We take that time that we're fasting and we're going without food or whatever, and instead of eating, we're feeding on the Word of God. We're praying. We're starting out our year very intentional. Sometimes I like when we talk about the dangerous prayers, whatever you want to call them. It's almost like 5 minutes of praying a dangerous prayer is more important than 60 minutes or an hour of praying safe, comfortable prayers. So we just want to make sure that we're praying. We're not just praying, God bless me, nothing wrong with that, but we're also praying, God, what do you want to do in me? So our first prayer that we're going to talk about is from David, and it's in Psalm 139. Also, there's some bookmarks on your seat, along with a handout to take notes. On the back of that handout, there's a Connect card. There's some announcements. We have next steps coming up. If you want to look into joining the church, that's the way that you do it. But this bookmark is a Bible study method that I did not come up with, but that I think is awesome, and I use it almost all the time. And it kind of teaches you how to do it. So that you can take that if you want it. or you can leave it on the chair and we'll pick it up after service. But Psalm 139, this psalm is a beautiful passage of Scripture. It's written by King David. His enemies were accusing him of doing things that he did not do. He ended up, later in his life, making a lot of bad decisions. Some pretty significant decisions that weren't God's will. But at this point in David's life, he's walking with God. He's clean and innocent before God. And so this passage of Scripture covers a lot of the attributes of God that we'll talk about. So I'm going to read the majority of the psalm, and then we're going to look at like just one short part of it, and then we're going to break it down, okay? Good? If you're ready, say I'm ready. Psalm 139, David says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely." Okay, so we see the omniscience of God in this first passage. That God is all-knowing. He knows everything. And there's a really unique, it's like a Hebrew literary technique called merism, M-E-R-I-S-M. And this is where you contrast things, but you're really saying it's everything in between. So a modern example of this would be, I gave it my blood, sweat, and tears. That means you gave it everything. I searched high and low. That means you searched everywhere. Day and night. That means, you're not really saying that, you're saying all the time. And David uses this throughout this psalm to compare and contrast, just to emphasize the magnitude and the sovereignty of God, to shine a light on God's attributes, that he knows everything. Obviously, we know this intuitively, that David is not saying, God only knows when I sit down or when I get up. He's not saying that. He's saying, God knows everything. There's actually nothing that God does not know. He knows everything about my life. Then it moves on to, in verse 7, to the omnipresence of God, that God is everywhere at once. It says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you." Okay, so once again, you see this poetic, rhetorical technique of comparing and contrasting. But really, what David's really saying is, I can't hide from you. There's nothing hidden from you. I literally, there's nowhere I can go where you are not there. I can't run from you, can't hide from you. God's presence literally transcends light and darkness. And then in verse 13, he talks about the power of God, the omnipotence of God. God is all powerful. It says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book, before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you." So he's talking about how the power and the sovereignty of God in creation, in So it's like he's basically saying, God, you didn't just know me. You didn't just love me. You didn't just see me when I repented and asked for forgiveness. You didn't just know me or be a part of my life when I went to church, went to the temple, or when I acknowledged you. You were there when I was being formed in my mother's womb. How amazing is that? The omnipotence of God. And then this psalm is just so personal because it talks about these attributes of God, and it's personal. It's not about someone else, like it was about David. It's true for David, it's true for us. And God knows everything about me. He's everywhere I go. And just the power of God and creation, the presence of God in David's life. He's thinking, and he's having these revelations about God's hand upon him before he was even born. And then we get to Psalm or verses 23 and 24, and that's where we're going to kind of land. He ends this psalm, and I imagine, this is just me, I imagine this is the part where he slips down to his knees and wraps this prayer up. He says, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. You don't pray that prayer unless you really want to know. And he says, search me, God. It's like he's saying, God, hold up a mirror to my life, to my heart, to my actions, to my relationships, to my leadership. Hold up a mirror, God. And what do I need to change? What do I need to do? Shine a light on my dark places. Reveal my motives. Show me where I'm at. And this is a dangerous prayer. The thing about dangerous prayers is that God will actually answer them. And then we got to do something about it. So I want to go through, there's actually 5 prayers within this prayer. And we're going to just take some notes and talk about them. Number 1 is just search me. The Hebrew word for search, it means mining deep, investigating thoroughly, exploring what's beneath the surface. So he says, search me, God. He basically says, God, go where I can't go on my own. Like, we know a lot about ourselves, but we have blind spots. We don't really sometimes know how to see fully our flaws, our weaknesses, how people experience us, whatever. And if you're married, you have an advantage. You have an advantage because you can just ask your spouse. There's a mirror. God, reveal to me who I really am because I can't really see on my own. He's giving God permission to expose what he might in his own nature defend, manipulate, excuse, deny. And a lot of we're all different, right? We all have different personalities. Some of us play dumb. We ignore reality. We don't really want to know. And I think we're always going to have our natural personality, but when it comes to spiritually, we have to know where we're at. I think it's a good question for you to ask as we start this new year. God, where am I at? Now, we have some people younger than me in the room today, and when you want to go somewhere, well, we're going to Kansas City. You just type in Kansas City in your phone, and it'll tell you where to turn and all that, and how much time is left and all that. It's great. I like it. But when some of us were young, and we didn't do that. We didn't have the luxury of telling Siri to tell us where to turn. We had maps, paper maps called atlases. And if you wanted to go on a road trip, you better get out your map and grab a magnifying glass and a measuring tape, and because you had the whatever, and you had to, how many miles, and you had to pay attention to mile markers. Like every now and then, someone, yeah, it's on mile marker 49. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I forgot there was mile markers. But it was just like, sometimes you'd print out MapQuest, and then it was better. Technology is just really advanced. So, but you have to know like where you're starting. Even now, you have to know, I'm coming from home. I'm coming from the Starbucks. I'm trying to get over there. You have to know where you're at. Also, we still have malls, but we don't really go to malls that much. But when you're at a mall or an amusement park or wherever, and you go to the kiosk thing, it'll say, you are here. That's how you know where to get somewhere, is you got to know where you're at. Where are you at spiritually? In order to go somewhere, we have to acknowledge where we're at. We have to be able to acknowledge, God, I have anger issues. I'm sorry, and I also still have them. I drink too much. My kids aren't polite, and that's my fault. I need help. No one taught me how to parent, or whatever. I'm insecure. Yeah, we have to be able to acknowledge, I don't like it when other people are happy because I want to be happy. My best friend just got a new Tahoe, and I want to smash it with a baseball bat. We have to be able to pay attention and not play dumb. Because what we do when we play dumb and we ignore what's real, and I know it's so hard to face like what's real, because like what's in there can scare us sometimes. But you have to be able to acknowledge it so that we can work on it, so that we can move forward. We have to be able to admit, hey, I'm frustrated at God. I don't feel like he speaks to me. I feel like he speaks to other people. I don't feel like he speaks to me. To be able to admit that is growth, is spiritual growth. That is one of the first steps of growing spiritually, is to be able to be humble enough to say, I have a problem. I have a weakness. This is what it is. This is where I want to grow. Because when we ignore reality, it usually gets worse. How can God help us when we don't admit we need help? Also, God already knows. So when we find out that we know, we can be in agreement that we both know. And that's repentance, confession. I agree with you that this is an issue, okay? 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. There's a constant examining. It's not always fun. This is dangerous prayers. It's not safe prayer teaching series. It's dangerous prayer. It's hard. But everything worth doing is hard. It's no different with your faith. If it was easy, everybody would be like Jesus and so kind and loving and generous. And no, it's hard. The second prayer says, search me and know me. Know me. Equally as dangerous. And he doesn't just say know me, he goes even deeper. What does he say? Know my heart. What? Because the heart is where things come from. The heart is the root. So he's not saying, know me on the outside. Like what I wear and how I act. And he said, know my heart. The Hebrew word for heart, it means the mind, the will, the desires, the motives. The motives. David is asking God, would you evaluate my heart? Would you evaluate my motives? Would you evaluate what's driving me? That's scary. Would you agree or disagree with what's happening on the inside of me? What's going on the inside of me? You ever had anybody say, check your heart? Or your spouse say, you need to pick up your dirty clothes in here. And you go, check your heart. You have 8 curling irons on the vanity, like, if you're not perfect, check your heart, Single people flirting with you too much, check your heart, check your heart, check your heart. It's like a Jesus juke, sort of, If you don't know how to respond, check your heart. You don't judge me. Someone cuts you off in the parking garage on the way out, you check your heart, you were just at church. In other words, you need to check what's going on the inside of you and quit worried about what's on the inside of me. And David tells God to check his heart. David knew that God knew everything about him. David knew that God knew him like no one knew him, and he wanted the inside scoop about what he knew about him. God says, I know you know me more than anyone. You can expose me with more grace than anyone. I trust you more than people. So, know my heart. What are my heart? Tell me the motivations of my heart. Make sure my heart is pure. And it's being known is hard because not everybody's Jesus. Your parents aren't Jesus. Your kids aren't Jesus. Your best friends aren't Jesus. But God's the safest place that we can be known. Which is why we trust in God more than anyone. I know that you can't fully trust people at your work to know everything about your heart. But with God, He already knows. And we can trust Him to know us because He already does. Adam and Eve, when they sinned, God's like, where are you? And they were hiding from Him. And of course, God's like, I already know. David said, search me, know my heart. He's asking God to check him. Jeremiah 17, verse 9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things. The heart is deceitful above all things. There's nothing that is more deceitful than, I'll just pick on myself, than my heart. So, and it's desperately sick. Who can understand it? So that's why when we ask God to forgive us, God comes into our life. He saved us. And He continually, it's called the process of sanctification. It's a lifelong process until we get to heaven, conditioning our heart to be like God's heart. Your heart is the why behind the what. It's what makes us do what we do. I don't know if you've ever done something, I'm sure that you have, and you go, where'd that come from? Why did I do that? What is wrong with me? And the hard part about it all is it came from the heart. That's what makes it even crazier. In the Bible, the heart is the innermost part of you. It's where your motives come from. Jealousy, comparison, envy, all come from the heart. Anger comes from the heart. Lust comes from the heart. Pride, selfishness, it all comes from the heart. Proverbs 27, verse 19, as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. We have heart problems. So our heart needs attention. And what a lot of us do, especially in the South of the Bible Belt, we just conditioned to go to church and I need to get my life right with God, and we'll clean up the outside. I need to go to church, I need to I need to do my devotions. I haven't been doing my quiet time. If I just do my quiet time, if I just go through my Beth Moore devotional, everything's going to be okay. And obviously, I'm a big fan of devotionals, big fan of spending time with God. But if it's not from the heart, what does it matter? you can do the right thing with the wrong heart. And those of you that have kids totally understand. Go apologize to your sister. I'm sorry. You're still stupid, but I'm sorry. Give her a hug. Right thing, wrong heart. So that's why Jesus, he's always talking about the heart. And then sometimes he would talk about practices, like giving or generous. And obviously there's practical things like loving your enemies and forgiveness. But a lot of times he would just zero in on the heart. And this is why we're so excited to be forgiven by God. And we're really not that excited about forgiving people that hurt us. This is why we love it when God blesses us. And if we had to be honest, not all that excited when God blesses someone else. We end up thinking, God, well, why didn't you bless me? Why are they richer than me? They're dumber than me. That's not fair. Oh, I'm the only one? Yeah. Like, don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. We're thrilled when things go good for us, but when things go good for someone else, it's like we're focused on ourselves. We have heart issues, and it's never going to fully go away. There are commands in the Bible to guard your heart, have a pure heart, protect your heart, hide God's word in your heart, give and love and serve with your heart. Everything comes from the heart. David in Psalm 51, he said, create in me a clean heart. Renew a loyal spirit within me. He knew, I can't just start to act right. I need you to make my heart right. It comes from the heart. And sometimes we got to discipline ourselves to do the right things, and then our heart catches up. But the attention needs to be on the heart. Why? Why don't I want to hang out and nurture my marriage? Why do I have angry outbursts? Why do I tend to be addicted to things? Why do I not want to spend time with God? Well, I think it's boring. Why? What's the why? God created me a clean heart. Search me. Know my heart. Know me. David is he's inviting the Creator God into his disturbing heart thoughts. He is inviting God into his mess. The thoughts that he can't shut off, the thoughts that he doesn't like, the thoughts that will expose his lack of trust in God. He's saying, know my heart. And I just think it's such a beautiful, dangerous, scary prayer that I think we should pray. Know my heart. Know my anxious thoughts. He says, know my anxious thoughts. Know all these weird thoughts I have. The third prayer is test me. He said, test me in verse 23. Search me, know my heart, test me. The Hebrew word here, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Excuse me. It was used for testing metal, for purity, for refining gold, determining what is genuine. So it's a little bit redundant. Some of this is all the same prayer. I'm just looking at 5 phrases within the prayer. But he says, test me. He's saying, turn the heat up on my life and expose the dross, expose the impurities. Because in refining metals, that's what the heat's turned up and the dross, the impurities fall, and you skim away the impurities so you can have a, awesome piece of metal, gold, silver, diamond, whatever. He's desiring a pure heart, so he says, test me. Lamentations 3 verse 40 says, instead let us test and examine our ways. Let us turn back to the Lord. There may be some of you here today. And what God is saying to you today, that you need to turn back to the Lord. You have gotten off track, you've gotten off path, and I've been there. And it's time to turn back to God. Let us examine our ways. Is this the way I really want my life to go? Do I really want to keep going down a path that I know will lead to destruction? The fourth prayer is cleanse me. Cleanse me. Verse 24, David says, see if there is any offensive way in me. Is there any offensive way in me? And I don't think he was really asking like, I don't know if there is. If there is, let me know. There is. There is. And you know what makes me so happy? There's a lot of things that make me happy. For a long time, Ashley, my wife, she did not eat red meat. She didn't eat steak, so we hardly ever had steak. Something happened. She was pregnant. One of the kids she was pregnant with. Pregnancy does some things. Does some things. This is one of the good things that happened. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she started to like red meat. She craved it. She's like, we having steak tonight? I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby wants steak. We're going to fire up the grill. And since then, she likes steak. That makes me happy. Presents, sue me, make me happy. When my kids' teams, it doesn't matter if it's high school or T-ball where they don't keep score. I like it when they win. Makes me happy. Someone's always keeping score, by the way. When the Razorbacks win, which they did not win yesterday, we're not going to talk about it because it's the worst game I've ever seen in my life. When they win, it makes me happy. It makes me happy. I'm not good at golf, so when I shoot under a 90, it makes me happy. I'm kind of a big deal. It doesn't happen very often. When it does, it makes me happy. But the happiest I've ever been, and I kid you not, the happiest I've ever been is when I repented of my sin. And since that day, when I go to sleep at night, I'm at peace with God. Because I lived for a long time without that. Thinking I was running from God, ignoring, trying, don't think about that. Don't think about my destructive life. I'm just trying to pretend. It's hard to go to sleep at night, to lay your head on your pillow and know you're not at peace with God. I've lived it. And ever since I really fully gave I surrendered my life, I know I'm not perfect. I have flaws. I mess up. But it's like, I just go to God with it. And I'm at peace with God. I'm not running away from God's path. Cleanse me. David says, see if there's any offensive way in me. And this requires being transparent. I grew up in classes in school, and we had transparencies, overhead projector. I know I'm doing a lot of nostalgia today. A youth group, we did worship music. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. We're like, someone would have to flip it. Does anybody remember this? Okay. There's some college students here y'all are so old, whatever. And we'd be waiting because we didn't know the lyrics to see you high, That's the technology we had. That was a scheduled volunteer at youth group. Who's running the transparencies? Oh, he's good at it. Yeah, he's real quick. Those are good old days, man. I wish we could go back. To be transparent before God, that means that we don't hide anything. God, cleanse me. Forgive me. Make me right with you. It is a beautiful thing to not hide anything from God. Proverbs 28 says, people who conceal their sins will not prosper. But if they confess and turn from them, they will receive mercy. And we all have something to confess today. Some of you, it may be like life-changing big things. For others, it may be attitudes of the heart. And that's what's so confusing, especially if you grew up in church, like, well, I'm not murdering people, getting drunk, or dirty dancing, so or whatever, I don't do drugs, so I'm good. It's like, yeah, but you're full of jealousy. You yell at people. You hate some people. You're negative all the time. Or, I'm not talking to you. I don't know who I'm talking to. Just saying examples of attitudes of the heart. We all have something to confess. Let's not get caught up on the bad sins. Well, I didn't get a DWI this year, so I'm good. You don't like your spouse. You gamble all the time or whatever. Just things that like no one really knows. Dangerous prayers. We need to move on. Number 5, the final one. And we're going to do a worship song for this one. Lead me. David says, lead me in the way everlasting. David wanted to be led by God. He's telling God, lead me. And God will lead us into some uncomfortable places. And don't overlook this phrase, the everlasting way. What does that mean? When I just read it, I tend to think, yeah, into heaven. God, lead me into heaven. When we get there, we'll all be good. Lead me in your everlasting, eternal way. It's like, what is that? When things are so conceptual, it doesn't really get into our heart. The Hebrew words here, like the word way, it conveys a direction, a trajectory for your life. Okay? And the word everlasting, it does include eternity, but it basically means God's ways that endure throughout generations. Lead me in your everlasting way. Like some paths feel right in the moment, and then other paths, they set us up for the remainder of our lives. So David is saying, lead me long term. Don't just lead me just for this moment. Lead me in your everlasting way. He's saying, lead me in your ways forever. This is not a church camp experience, God. This is not just a Sunday encounter. This is not just first of the year, new me. This is not an emotional thing, God. Lead me forever. The everlasting way. A life with God that still makes sense decades from now. A rich relationship. David's not asking God, fix this little flaw in me. I need to be a better leader. He's asking God to set the direction of his life forever. The everlasting way is the path that leads to God and keeps leading to God all the days of your life. Lead me all the days of my life. Psalm 23, verse 3, David wrote this one too. He said, he guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. The African impala, which I'm not that familiar with, but I read a story one time. By the way, the African impala, it can jump 30 feet. That's a long way. It can jump 10 feet up. But when zookeepers, a safari, all the people that like enclose animals or whatever, what are those? Zookeeper, I guess? I don't know. Great movie. 3 feet is all they need. They can enclose impalas with 3 feet of fence, even though they can jump 10 feet. Because if they can't see where they're going, they won't jump. And that's the thing with these dangerous prayers that we're going to be talking about. If you pray them, get ready. Pray them even though you don't know what's going to happen. Because this life with God is not safe. It's not cute. It's unknown. It's walking water faith. It's risky. So if you want to live a safe, comfortable, cute Christian, whatever life, maybe don't pray them. I encourage you to pray them. Because what we are trying to build here is men and women of faith, strong faith, that are going to live a legacy, leave a legacy, have something we're fighting for, make a difference. Every day, wake up, filled with purpose, really, genuinely making a difference. That's what we're building. A faith that's real. That we're changing and growing and we're being transformed by the power of the gospel. And it's going to take courage. Let me read you this prayer by Sir Francis Drake. He was an explorer. He was a naval pioneer. He was the first Englishman to sail around the world. And he wrote one of the most dangerous and disturbing prayers I have ever read. And I want to share it with you in hopes that it will bother you as much as it bothers me. He said, "Disturb us, Lord, when we are too well pleased with ourselves, when our dreams have come true because we have dreamed too little, when we arrive safely because we have sailed too close to the shore. Disturb us, Lord, when the abundance of things we possess, we have lost our thirst for the waters of life, having fallen in love with life. We have ceased to dream of eternity, and in our efforts to build a new earth, we have allowed our vision of the new heaven to dim. Disturb us, Lord, to dare more boldly, to venture on wider seas where storms will show your mastery. Where losing sight of land, we shall find the stars. We ask you to push back the horizon of our hopes and push us into the future in strength, courage, hope, and love." We're starting this year strong. We're starting this year bold and strong. Bow your heads, I want to pray for you.